Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
What's good, everybody? It is the Huddle Up Podcast, presented as always by Mile High Huddle, powered by Blue Wire Podcasts, and I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest, you know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, at the owners' meetings, we heard from Joe Ellis, team CEO, team president, also one of three members on the Pat Bowlen Trust, that the total number of submittals for the Broncos ownership sale, the auction to be, was somewhere like between 7 and, I don't know, what was the fee? It was weird, dude. Like no less than 7, no more than 19. That's all I can tell you. Well, it turns out Friday, when the initial bids were submitted, there were only 5 ownership group submittals. So 5 different groups submitted. We're going to go through this, but it's kind of interesting to know at least 2 of. We don't know all 5 names. We do know now those 2 additional names besides the Walmart heir, Rob Walton, who are in on this. I'll pull it up, but what was your reaction?
I mean, my reaction's been the same. As long as Rob Walton is not convicted of a crime between now and the summer, I think he's going to be the next owner of the Broncos. When you have $70 billion and the next candidate has 5 or 4, how can anyone compete with that? If he wants him, I believe it will be Rob Walton's team, and this is all just a window dressing to make the franchise look more appreciative and make him look like more of a valuable franchise. But I believe Rob's the front runner for a reason. I heard he's already submitted a bid. Maybe he did it behind the scenes. Maybe that report was erroneous, but it seems like all the machinations are pointing to Rob owning the Broncos in due time.
So Luke Patterson, shout out, had the article for us, and it was Sportico that really got into the nitty gritty. But here is what Luke writes, quote, "The Sportico report lists Walmart heir Rob Walton, who is the world's 19th richest billionaire, Josh Harris of," this is a new name, Josh Harris of Apollo Global Management, previously of the NBA's Philadelphia 76ers, and Todd Boehly, a LA Dodgers investor, as the 3 publicly named suitors to have submitted initial offers to purchase the Broncos. However, the other 2 bids did not reveal the names of the potential buyers due to exclusive privacy and anonymity on what's being estimated to be the largest sale of a professional sports team all time, expected to fall in the $3.8 to $4 billion range. So, Zack, for those that were pining and hoping to see and read the name Robert F. Smith, right, the United States' richest black man, he could be one of those 2 groups not named, but we don't know that yet. There's 2 of these groups, for whatever reason, they didn't want any of their information leaking out.
Maybe it's Peyton Manning and John Elway in one of the other groups. That was the rumor in the beginning. You never know. I mean, there's a reason why they're being a little mysterious with it. We don't know the anonymity of the people involved, but I still believe Rob is going to be the owner. How do you compete with $70 billion? Even if you add up Josh Harris and Todd Boehly and all these other people, I believe their net worth would fall short of Rob Walton. So.
Well, here's the thing. These 2 names that we have now sussed to the surface, besides Rob Walton, both have pro sport pedigree. Josh Harris, of course, NBA, Philadelphia 76ers. And then Boehly is a Los Angeles Dodgers investor. Now, if you go and Google any images of Boehly, you're going to find him heavily tied to the LA Dodgers, showing up at the games. The image on this story, for example, is him at a Dodger game. So that's at least to me, because Bronco fans, there's this part of Broncos country that is agonizing, worrying over, could this be like, are we about to inherit for lack of a better term, as a fan base, the next Dan Snyder, the next just complete fool and buffoon billionaire that's not going to take the Pat Bowlen legacy seriously, that's not going to take the Mile High Expectations thing seriously, and just like you've talked about, Zach, look at the Denver Broncos as just another item on the portfolio to kind of strengthen their financial 10,000-foot picture. At least in this case, we don't know if that's true of Rob Walton. However, his ties to the Kroenke family would intimate that he at least understands what it takes to really be a good owner in a pro league. But Josh Harris, NBA history, Boley, Dodgers history. So that's at least on some level that should be. We don't know the character details yet, Zach. I'm rambling here a little bit, but we don't know the character details of these two men. But at least they have an experience in having been baptized in pro sport expectation.
It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, though. In Broncos country, that doesn't want a Daniel Snyder, Jerry Jones type of meddler, but they don't want a guy who's going to look at the Broncos as a portfolio builder. You want the guy in the middle. Those guys aren't easy to find. The good thing is Rob Walton has the deepest pockets, or he would, of any owner in the NFL, and the Broncos want to acquire a player, hand out a new contract. They don't have to worry about liquid cash any longer with Rob Walton in charge. You kind of maybe would have that worry with someone like Harris or Boley, whose net worth is more, dare I say, disposable. It's less, it's more finite than Rob Walton. 70 billion can last forever, generations. I want the owner with the deep pockets, the owner that's not going to meddle, the owner that's not going to bring shame to the franchise, a la Daniel Snyder. So among the group, Rob sticks out to me.
Scott is telling me Todd Boley is also one of the finalists for a $3 billion Chelsea football club across the pond. Football meaning soccer, right? So he's trying to get in on things. He's trying to. Now, let me read this last little bit here, Zach, and then we'll jump into the chat and see what's on everyone's mind. But this is from the Sportico article. Quote, all 5 Bronco groups are expected to have minority investors, a stated priority of NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. While that's difficult to require in an estate sale because the trustees have a fiduciary obligation to sell to the highest qualified bidder, Goodell has spoken openly about the league's belief that it can diversify its ranks while maximizing the value of the club. There are very few non-white NFL owners, even among team-limited partners, close quote. So of those other, they got there's minority involvement in some of these groups, but I'm still dying to know how much of, if one of those two groups involves Robert F. Smith, and I keep forgetting the other dude's name, dude. Gosh dang it. I'll come back to it, but that's a priority for the NFL. We don't yet know, however, if it's one of the finalists is of that qualification.
What does the last sentence have to do with anything, though? They talk about fiduciary responsibility and the value of the franchise, and they talk about race. It's just shoehorning that in for the sake of shoehorning it in and having a black investor, minority investor. It's a sham, and it's the same thing of why people hate the Rooney Rule. You're doing it just for the sake of doing it and not because of merit. So right. I hope it's the best owner for the franchise. Among those group, it does seem like Walton stands out as the front runner.
Last thing on this, the investment and financial advisement firm Allen & Company is regulating the sale of this team on the behalf of the Pat Bowlen Trust and is expected to meet with the 5 prospective bidding groups alongside team representatives in early May, for what it's worth. Sam Bam, what's good, bro? Thank you for that very, very generous super chat, dude.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you, my friend. He says, hello, Chad and Zach. Hello, Broncos country. Ready to do up the podcast and then season 6 of Better Call Saul. Week and a half until the draft. Go Broncos. Yeah, we're stoked on the draft. I want to talk about that. But first, real quick, Better Call Saul. Bro, you'll not find a bigger fan of Breaking Bad than yours truly. I gave the first season of Better Call Saul a try because that dude was a joy. When he entered the Breaking Bad storyline, it was awesome. Like it was great. That first season, and people tell me, no, you got to grind through season 1, dude. Once you get past season 1, it's like phenomenal. Dude, season 1 to me was an absolute bleak, dour snooze fest. I don't know. So you'll have to tell me, Sam Bam, if it's really worth trying to muscle through that. But Zach, we're going to be at the draft. We're looking forward to it. We're stoked. We want to see as many of you there as possible. Next week, it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, can't wait to meet y'all in Vegas. We're very excited about going. And quick little roll call. Anyone who plans to be there who's listening right now, let us know. We love to get a little list going. So can't wait to see y'all out there.
We'll call it a digital RSVP of sorts. Travis Weber in the house. What is good, bro? One of the biggest Bronco fans I've ever known. He says, whoever is the next owner, it will show the love and passion like Mr. Bolin did. So are you trying to will that into existence? Before we went live tonight, we were talking about The Secret, right? The Law of Attraction. If any of you have ever read that book, The Secret, perhaps, Zach, that's what Travis Big T is trying to do here. Will into existence an owner that will do those things.
I think if you're expecting anyone to be Pat Bowlen, you're going to be disappointed. There's only one Pat Bowlen, and unfortunately, he's no longer with us. We have to hope whoever the next owner is just makes the Broncos a better franchise. I think the football people, the players and the coaches and the general manager and the personnel there, they will do their best to keep the Broncos competitive, keep the Broncos a winning team. I just want the owner, whoever it is, to add that little extra with his pocketbook to make the Broncos a better, more legitimate, respected franchise.
Kenneth, bite your tongue if this isn't true, dude. Bite your tongue. This better be true. To say ultimately I think Better Call Saul turned out to be better than Breaking Bad, like that's saying something. It's like, have you ever seen that clip from Family Guy where Peter Griffin's talking about, the cool kids of the movies, the shows that everyone considers to be the greatest of all time? Breaking Bad and The Wire. Yes, indeed. That is a bold statement, my friend. The Wire's good. Another one you kind of got to grind through the first season or so so you can get invested. But I mean, you got Stringer Bell in that, uttered one of the most legit lines of any movie or television. If you come at the king, you best not miss. Did you watch The Wire? You like Sopranos, dude. You like some HBO programming.
That's what I was gonna say, bro. Like Sopranos to me is the greatest show of all time, and it's that and then everything else. I mean, I try to get into Breaking Bad. I try to get into Ozark. I never liked Game of Thrones. It was Sopranos and everything else. Before that, there was Oz on HBO, which I loved.
I liked
Oz the first 3 years was pretty great, but Sopranos is to me the GOAT of all TV shows.
Did you remember Beecher from Oz, dude? The poor put upon, freaking flagellated Beecher, man.
Yeah.
That poor
that's
SOB.
Broncos country since 2016. We're all Tobias Beecher.
Beecher country. Yeah. Well, hey, maybe I need to give Better Call Saul another swing at the plate. Appreciate that. Scott's saying The Wire is maybe his number one. I love The Wire too. I'm really into The Wire. It sucks you in eventually, and the storytelling and the character stuff, it's so good. That was back when if HBO produced a miniseries, it was going to be good. Like, you knew it would be good. Even Oz, like, I think Oz predated The Sopranos, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of timeline, right?
That set the bar. That set the table for The Sopranos to do what it did, and every other show that came after it, having that sort of violence on HBO, non-network channel. I mean, we can get it. I'm a big TV buff, and I love watching these shows in the past. But yeah, Sopranos and everything else.
Plum Bob, what's going on, brother? Appreciate the super. He says, I've heard Zach say for weeks that he wants Kansas City week 1 under the lights. I can't agree more. I want everyone to see us curb stomp KC week 1 to show we for real. Hey, it only took me like a half a beat. I got the syntax, but what do you think, Zach?
I still want that. It's seeming like the scuttlebutt has been the Broncos opening on Thursday, the first Thursday against the Rams at Los Angeles, the season kickoff. Could be the Bills, though, against the Rams in that game. I would love for the Broncos to open up either at Kansas City or Denver, doesn't matter. Just prime time, week 1, get that streak over with, establish dominance in the West, and show them Patrick Mahomes and company that Russell Wilson is now king of the mountaintop, and y'all best obey that.
It would be really cool to see that as a nationally televised game, I'll tell you. Andrew Lampy, what's good, bro? Great to see you. Thank you for the stars. We really do appreciate that. In fact, while we're on the topic of stars, I might as well update you guys on where things stand here on day 18 in the month of April. We're trying to reach 250,000 stars this month. When we do, we will raffle off another Broncos jersey of the winner's choosing, and only those who contribute to the goal are in the running for that raffle. But sadly, the news is we're at 23%. So we got a lot of ground to make up, and that's helping out right there, Andrew Lampy. And again, guys, stars, we appreciate it. It's another way to help support us, keep the lights on. It's a way that we can monetize our efforts and the time and energy we put into this every single night on Facebook. So Andrew, you the man, appreciate you. Wait a minute now. You're freaking throwing me for a loop here, Josh. Like if I didn't know, I'd be tripping. I'd be like, yo, who is this? Vikings, he says, takes the cake for me. Damn good show. That is an underrated show. I mean, we're bogging down the conversation here a little bit, but we're in the off season, so pound sand. If you don't like it, I mean, it is what it is. Vikings, Ragnar, Lothbrok, or whatever, right? That's cool, dude. You learn, Zach, how the Vikings figured out, because real quick, for most of the existence of the Vikings, when they would go, they would live for the year on what they brought back from their summer ravages. They just follow the European coast south, right? And just like rape and pillage, bring back slaves, bring back resources. And then that would feed them through those brutal winters, like in Norway and Denmark and Sweden and all that. But they were stuck to the coast because for navigational purposes in the open water, you didn't know where you were going unless you could keep sight of the coast. And this Ragnar, he through a slave or something, he learns about a sundial and how that can help you navigate on the open water without being in sight of shore. And boom, all of a sudden the Vikings they can go to so many different places. And it's actually really well done. It's on the History Channel, but don't let that turn you off. It's not some kind of documentary or anything. It's really well done.
Let me know when they find a quarterback. The Vikings. We got Michaela Baum coming in, $9.99 super. Thank you so much, Michaela. We definitely appreciate that. So nice, I said it twice. Thank you, Michaela. She goes, will Peyton Group bid, meaning Peyton Manning, I'm assuming, would love a football man. We don't know. That could be one of the undisclosed names in the group, but they are millionaires. They're not billionaires, and there's a distinct difference between the two letters there. If anyone wants to go toe-to-toe with Rob Walton, they simply can't. If you're worth $500 million, that's literally couch cushion money for someone of the Walmart fortune.
Indeed, but it would be real cool to see Peyton involved again at some level, but we just don't yet know if he was working up a bid. I don't know why it went from so many potential different players to only 5 bids being submitted. Perhaps, Zach, it has something to do with the qualifying process and the vetting and whatnot. I don't know exactly, but it would be cool to see Peyton involved.
Yeah, I mean, or Elway. I mean, imagine John Elway owning the piece of the Broncos or being the Broncos owner. Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl winning general manager, maybe Super Bowl winning owner. That's Elway for you, the Triple Crown. But we'll have to see how it shakes out. My gut is telling me Walton, but maybe these other guys team up and become the Voltron of Denver and assume control of the franchise.
Indeed. All right, let's see what else is on everybody's mind in the chat. Hey, shout out to Ernie, Big Ern in the house. What's going on, Ern? Good to see you, my friend. Shout out to Kathy. Shout out to Albert and his wife, Michelle. You've been in our thoughts and prayers, my friend, your wife and your family. So for what it's worth, we got James Hyatt in the house. Walton, if he wins the bid, he says, would be the richest NFL team owner. Well, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, he's the 19th richest dude in the world. No one in the NFL business, I could pull it up, but I don't think they come even close to Rob Walton's multi-generational wealth.
I think Tepper would be the closest one in Carolina.
Yeah, and I don't even know what he's worth, but the amount of money it cost him to purchase the Carolina Panthers will be about half of what the Broncos go for. I mean, think about that. The Denver Broncos, this small market team from the 1960s that couldn't, barely could get their foot in the door in the AFL, now being sold in 2022 for something approaching $4 billion. Like, boggles the mind, really, how, I mean, inflation's a thing. We get that. Like, it's like my grandpa would tell me stories about, I could take a nickel when I was a little boy, go down to the candy store and come away with, baskets and baskets. A nickel doesn't stretch, Zach, as far nowadays as it did back then. I get that. But the NFL, man, it just turned into a juggernaut. When do you think that was, dude? When was the turning point from, because when I was coming up, NFL was popular, obviously. Like in the 80s and 90s, it was popular. But NBA and MLB still seemed to be like more kind of captivating of America at large. And then somewhere along the way, dude, like maybe late 90s, early 2000s, I don't know, I can't quite put my finger on it. The NFL just left everybody in the dust. And now it's not even close.
Well, that's when it became America's game. America's pastime took over for baseball, and it went from just a secondary sport to like must see TV in every single household, multi billion dollar enterprise. And lately, the rise of sports gambling has made every franchise that much richer. And the Broncos, you mentioned since the late 90s, how much success have they had? Throw away 2016 to 2021. I mean, you're talking about multiple titles, multiple AFC championships, division titles. That's why they are what they are. They really are a luxurious franchise for a small market team. They have a lot of legacy to them, and that's why they're going to cost a pretty penny.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that all changed when the majority of that, when people think Denver Broncos, and I'm not talking fans, I'm just talking at large. When they think Denver Broncos, they're thinking of Elway and beyond. They're not really thinking about Orange Crush 78. They're not really thinking about, the 1960 clubs. I mean, Floyd Little finally got into the Hall of Fame, and that was great. They recognized the franchise and all that. But Pat Bowlen was the catalyst that just basically turned the ship around for the Denver Broncos. And they've been missing him for, when did he step down, Zach? I want to say it was summer of 2014, I believe, is when he had to step down because of the ravages of Alzheimer's. The Duchess, again, love you. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. She says, I'm not sure Rob Walton would make a good owner. Is he passionate about football? That makes a difference. I feel you on that. I really do. Like, that's why I was bringing up early on in the show, hey, these other two guys, like, who knows how much they know about football, but at least they have experience in the pro sport realm. And, you would assume guys that are that resourceful, wealthy, whatever, that could serve them.
Yeah, again, though, you don't want too passionate because then you get Jerry Jones or then you get Daniel Snyder or a meddlesome owner. But you want a guy who knows what he's doing, who knows the concept of football. But I'm confident enough in who the Broncos have in charge. General manager George Payton, head coach Nathaniel Hackett, quarterback Russell Wilson. I want to see this team win. That's priority number one. Whoever owns the team is priority number two. They can help the franchise if it comes down to money or paying a player, doing this or that, stadium upgrades, renovations. But winning football games is first and foremost, and they have the guys in charge already to get that done.
Zach, I'm going to test your memory real quick. When I said we were behind the eight ball oh no, here we are. Yeah, so guys, already since I brought that up, where we're at on the stars goal, we've already climbed a percentage point, which is good for one show. Like, even if that's all we did tonight, that's really good. Guys, real quick, here's your update on the Super Chat Superstar competition on YouTube. Top 5 finishers on Super Chat cumulatively. Their names go in a hat. We draw Broncos jersey. Right now, Ethan, the DWI guys, at number 1, his jersey on the way because he was a winner from last month, on the way. Takes a minute to, if you're in the United States, for what it's worth, maybe this can help you guys at some point if you ever come across this, but you can't just buy something and have it shipped across the pond. You have to buy it, have it shipped to you, and then yourself go box it up and mail it across the pond. Anyway, Ethan at number 1, the Duchess at number 2, Dale at number 3, D-Dub, Pobby at 4. It's been great seeing Pobby back in the chats of late. And then Tom at number 5, really cool. Nothing but a G thing. At number 6, you can see Nash, the Queen, Daniel, Sam Bam, Cottonmouth, Corey H., the Boogmeister, KB, etc. So there's your update on the Super Chat competition for the month of April. Phil, what's up, bro? Appreciate you. He says, do the bidders get a second chance? Is it one bid and done? I'm not sure on that. I'm really not. I would assume that there is the NFL wants to glean, Zach, as much value out of that sale as they possibly can. And the trust has, as we've talked about, a fiduciary responsibility to get top dollar, the toppity-tippity-toppest dollar that you can get. So I would assume, in the spirit of competition, when you're talking about supply and demand, that they'll why would all 5 of them be meeting with team representatives next month if that highest bid already did it? Like, I would guess that they're going to have an opportunity to match, exceed all that in the coming weeks. I don't know all the details. This is such a rare occurrence, by the way, in the NFL that, even the hard, the hardcore weathered journos that are into this type of thing, like on the sports side, like Nikki Jabvala, formerly of the Denver Post, is a good example. Like, This type of stuff is what she gets paid to do, like roll her sleeves up into this stuff and like become an expert. I mean, this is still very new stuff. I doubt she knows everything there is to know on the subject.
God bless her, because I can't do it consistently. I roll my eyes at this type of stuff. I glaze over. But second chance, I don't think so. I think it'll be like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or in this case, a billionaire. Is that your final answer? Is that your final bid? You get your, what's the most you're going to do? You put that in. Whoever has the highest bid owns the Broncos. End of story. I think. We'll ask Nikki.
We shall see. Greg, yeah, of course, dude. Anytime you guys reach out with an email or a DM, we're going to reply. Appreciate you. Rando from the Great White North in Alaska. Great to see you, bro. How you been? He says, thank you, Priest. Dropping some stars. I'll listen later tonight. I'm rooting for Rob Walton to become the owner. Interesting. Thank you, Randy. Really great to see you, bro. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Randy.
GLP, another legendary figure in our community. Gary Leach Palmer says, less than a week till the draft. Can't wait for George Payton to work more magic. Denver Broncos for life. Let's ride. That's right. It'll be here before you know it. It's a little bit of draft us, interrupt us. It's like the anticipation on your wedding night or whatever, and you got to wait till the next day. It's like that for Bronco fans. You're like, all right, the draft, we're so like stoked to see what's going to happen on the first round, and then wait a minute, we don't get it. Oh, Zach, your line was the best on this, though. You do have a first-round pick. His name's Russell Wilson. So you just got to find out who your first-round pick was a couple months in advance.
And the good thing is you might have to wait, but the honeymoon's going to last about 5 months, not, a couple nights. That's what it's going to be this football season, having Russell Wilson, Hackett, and the whole rejuvenated Broncos locker room. Going to win a lot of football games, and it's going to start in the draft in Vegas. We'll be there. Cannot wait. Bart Scott voice. Can't wait.
Can't wait. On that subject, that reminds me, I'm going to grab the Boogmeister, and then there was an article that Luke wrote. Luke published 2 articles today, grinding. He's freaking grinding on the subject of Russell Wilson that I'm going to come back to here in just a second. But first, the Boogmeister. What's good, bro? He says, great value at Mile High Stadium. Oh, football gods, give us good luck. Yeah, I don't know how much those 2 streams would really cross, to be honest with you. I mean, I guess there's a chance they could, but I don't think you're going to see it become Walmart Stadium. Those 2 things are separate. Plus, he has nothing to do with Walmart anymore. He's not even on the board anymore. He sold out his, I don't know about his shares and all that stuff, but like his interest as a, shot caller executive, he stepped down and passed it on. What was I reading, Zach? Was it to his younger brother, or no, it was his son-in-law took over for him at Walmart, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I joke about it like, great value field at Mile High, but he's associated with Walmart because he's a Walton. Simple as that. He really, like Chad laid out, has less and less to do with it. So he's a really, really, really rich guy who has an interest in owning a professional football team. That's what we know about Rob Walton. How he governs as owner, we shall find out, maybe.
We shall see. The Oi Boy himself again, Josh, this time from a different handle on YouTube, saying, I'm sorry to throw you off, Chad. I have 2 channels on YouTube, one for hobbies and music and personal interests, and one for politics, philosophy, education. That aside, though, I want to see W's despite ownership. I feel you. By the way, I mean, the number of YouTube accounts I have because of all my kids, they want a YouTube account. Okay, cool. We'll create your little account, and I got to have it on my phone, my wife and I, so we can keep track of what they're doing. But yes, Zach, it all comes down to the product on the field. We kind of start glazing over a little bit when we get into the whole ownership thing. But honestly, Zach, that was when it was so far down the road and it was such a big, convoluted picture that it almost wasn't worth our time. It was very Game of Thrones-ish in terms of which of the Bolognairs is going to emerge on top of this and become king of the hill. But now that it's coalescing toward a resolution, I'm perked up a little more. I want to know what's going on. I want to know who it's going to be. But at the end of the day, product on the field. Let's hope that does not get impacted, for the worst anyway, by the coming ownership change.
That's been my credo all along. I mean, I really don't care who owns the Broncos as long as they win football games. And I hearken back to last season. Didn't they lose 22-9 in one of the Kansas City games? Wasn't it 19-9, 22-9?
That was the second one, yep.
They didn't lose that game because they had no owner. They lost that game because they didn't have an offense. They didn't have the right horses on the field. Now they do. So whether it's Walton, Boley, whoever, a random ownership group, as long as they have the football guys in place, which they do, the Broncos will be okay.
Zach, and then we're going to grab Michaela here. Do you remember who the defensive prospect was? The only defensive prospect drafted higher than Bradley Chubb in 2018? Denzel Ward.
That's right. He got paid today.
My dog got paid $100 million extension on a 5-year deal. So congrats to him. Bradley, that's what can await for you, my dog. If you can stay on the field, you're going to get paid likewise. Michaela, again, thank you, my friend. She says, whoever the new owner is, they need to invest in a new stadium with a retractable roof. Would be a great host for a Super Bowl. Thank you all. Yeah, that's the reason why, the Broncos' only chance at trying to get in on the hosting a Super Bowl conversation, Zach, was that one year the NFL decided to shake things up and consider cold weather destinations, and it ended up being MetLife Stadium and Peyton Manning in the freaking cold. But if the Broncos had an environmental, a stadium that could be environmentally controlled with a retractable roof, that opens the door for all kinds of possibilities, including the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I mean, me being a traditionalist, I think I'm leaving well enough alone. It would kind of ruin. I mean, I know you can open the roof, but it would kind of ruin the home field advantage the Broncos have during the season of being that cold weather, blustery, windy, mile-high environment. I don't think it's coming to Denver. The great value brand roof. If Rob Walton owns the team, I think they're going to leave it alone.
Hopefully, if they do, it's better than a great value brand roof. You know what I'm saying? Like the great value brands, like the D brand or whatever.
Yeah.
Here's the article I alluded to from Luke Patterson, published, as you can see here, 3 hours ago. Title: Former Wisconsin head coach Brett Bielema. Is that how you say it? Bielema? I forget how to say his name. Russell Wilson will set a standard, quote, no one else can match. An interesting remark that he gave to the Colorado Springs Gazette's George Stoya. This is Russell Wilson's former college head coach, by the way. Quote, he'll set the standard, Will Russ, and the expectation that no one else can match. He'll prepare, practice, rehearse, and put himself in a position that when it comes time to compete at the highest level of competition, he'll be the standard for what everybody else has to be at. I know that's what he did in college. I know he did that in Seattle, and I know he'll do it in Denver. Closed quote. So, Zach, that no one else can match. Your thoughts on that?
It sounds like a former head coach talking about one of his former players, honestly. It's true, though. He holds himself, Russell Wilson does, to a very high standard. He's known to be a really, really intense, prepared football player who lives and breathes the sport. People talk about his robotic personality. I think he's pretty genuine, and he will bring that to Denver. And I think anyone I'm not even going to pronounce his last name, Brett, would say you compare any quarterback to Russell Wilson in the last 5 years in the Broncos, and Russell Wilson looks like, because he is a future Hall of Famer. So it's a nice, again, when it's April 18th and we have nothing else to go on, it's nice to hear about that. But ultimately what will matter, what Russell Wilson does on the field this fall with the Broncos. And I think he's going to do well.
By the way, it's Bielema. That's weird. I'm looking at it, the spelling of it, and I'm trying to see. Let me see. Bielema. Okay, I got it. I can see that. Bielema. All right. We got Cottonmouth, 78, throwing down. What's good, bro? So he said, I thought Homer Simpson was the Broncos owner. When Hank Scorpio took over the West Coast, he gave the Broncos to Homer. I'm lost on this. I stopped watching The Simpsons when I was a teenager, probably. But I'm old enough. This will date me here, Zach. I'm old enough to remember the cultural phenomenon that The Simpsons quickly became, and being envious of the kids at school whose parents were cool enough to buy him a Bart Simpson shirt that said, I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you? Had a freaking HE double hockey sticks on their t-shirt, wearing it to school. I was like, oh, dude, that's dope. Mom, can I? And she's like, child, please. But I don't know, dude. Other than that, I don't get the joke because I'm not wise on Simpsons.
Chad, eat your shorts. This was a classic Simpsons. I mean, I'm not going to be a Simpsons historian. Let's just say that it's good that Frank Grimes doesn't own the Broncos franchise, because he was a down on his luck kind of guy.
Although it is quite a trip how the Simpsons have predicted the future in so many different ways in the decades now that they've been in production. But all right, let me shift gears here for just a second. Albert Okwuegbunam, Zach, for what it is worth, and then we'll get back to the chat. Let not your hearts be troubled. Albert Okwuegbunam had a nice little side chat with Phil Milani of the team website because the Broncos have been back in the building, OTAs. We're going to get to hear from some players tomorrow, for example. It's going to be cool. We'll have a lot to talk about when we come back Wednesday. And Kayaka is supposed to be on the show with us Wednesday night. We're stoked on that. But Albert Okwuegbunam, it was interesting the way Phil Milani posed this question, talking about, because he's talking about the energy and just like this kind of swagger that the team, this spark, this, this juice, this jump start they've had. And Phil Milani assumes that he's attributing that to the arrival of Russell Wilson. And Albert Okwuegbunam corrects him and says, honestly, no, that starts with Coach Hackett coming in here and establishing that from the jump in everything we do, from the meeting room to just the way we conduct ourselves. It's had a huge impact so far. And then Zach, he says, last thing here, really, first and foremost, this is Albert O, Hackett just wants to connect to us as people and then just express how much he cares about this team and what he's willing to do to protect us as a team. Just him expressing that from his heart, I think that's where he initiated that kind of sense of connection. It was really good. So, Zach, if Nathaniel Hackett trying to establish that one-on-one personal bond with the dudes, with the fellas, before he starts trying to kind of boss them around and lead them around, that's a different tact. That's not a tact Fangio took. That's not a tact VJ took. And let's face it, that wasn't a tact Gary Kubiak took. Maybe a little bit John Fox, but he was a player's coach. But still, I think a little bit more aloof than the way Hackett is kind of posturing himself early on here as Broncos head coach.
Man, you took my Dr. Thunder there, Chad, because I was going to say, pull up the quote from from Alberto talking about Fangio that way, or Pat Shurmur, and I'll wait while you do that. It didn't happen. They hired Hackett. They loved Hackett. They fell in love with him. George Payton did, because of his football prowess, obviously. His offensive play calling, what he can do there, but the way he connects people, his energy, his personality. We all played the clip before he got hired, weeks before, of him getting like orgasmic over a play fake that he was playing in a meeting. That's the type of guy that Nathaniel Hackett is, and they've long lacked that in the Mile High City. Even going back to Gary Kubiak, he was a little more stoic than people remember him being. They haven't had this firebrand in the locker room leading them like Nathaniel Hackett is. So that's why any player would love to play for him. But when you're an offensive player and you're playing under Hackett, you're extra hype. And Alberto is extra hype.
I like that. Firebrand. Andre Williams jumping in. What's good, bro? Welcome. Connect on Twitter. Appreciate that super chat. He says, I love the show. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see MHH grow more.
Thank you, Andre.
Hey, so kind of you, my friend. Yeah, it has really, MHH has kind of taken on a life of its own. And it's thanks to you guys. It's kind of grown out of the podcast, because MHH was always very successful on, the written side of things. We've always done very, very well. Lots and lots of traffic. But it's kind of a separate ecosystem since we started doing these live stream podcasts. Like, if we didn't have these banners behind us, Zach, these backdrops, probably most people who listen to us every day and contribute to the conversation would have no idea that we're Sports Illustrated, that we're Fan Nation, because the streams have kind of separated. We try to keep them, I try to go through and show you guys the articles and all that stuff. But what I'm getting at here is the way MHH has grown on social media, from Facebook to YouTube in particular. I think we're about to cross 15,000 subs, which to us is like mind-blowing. It's thanks to you guys. So, Andre, you're one of those thanks that we throw out and shout out. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Andre. And it's funny you bring that up. I was looking at our subscriber count the other day. I was going on the channel, and remember we celebrated 1,000 and then 5,000, and we seemed like that was so much, and we were so grateful. And now it's almost 15,000. It's because of each and every one of you, as Chad said. We are eternally grateful. We try to show our thanks and appreciation as much as we can. But Andre, it's because of comments like that we're doing what we're doing, and we absolutely love what we're doing.
Yes, we do. We pinch ourselves every single day. Savage Boy Kev on the Twitch machine saying, I would love Walton to become Broncos owner. Discounts on Broncos gear at Walmart. Let's go. Yeah, it would be cool to see. It'd be cool to see. But again, he's probably, when we say he's no longer involved with Walmart, I mean, that's from a technical perspective, I guess. when it's your son-in-law running things now. I mean, put yourself in anyone who has, children old enough to be married, or, even old enough to have a boyfriend, serious boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. It's like, hey, if you take your business or what you're doing and you hand it off to your daughter's husband, odds are that you're still kind of, if you want something to go down, it's still going to go down because you're Papa Bear, you're daddy. So anyway, but technically speaking, he's no longer involved with Walmart.
It'll probably be called the Broncos or something, but the the point is not lost on us, Savage Boy. And I don't think it's going to be that drastic. It's not going to be a thing. A lot of Broncos fans, Chad, are worrying about the new owner selling the team, like relocating the team to another city. That's not going to happen. They're not going anywhere. I don't think they're going to play in a different stadium. I don't think their uniform is going to change. It's the same Broncos that most of us know and love very well, just with the new owner at the top providing his bankroll.
Joey wants to know on YouTube, are we doing an all-hands draft prep coming this week? I think what you're alluding to, Joey, is our annual roundtable mock draft, the Mile High Roundtable that we've done for years and years. And yes, we're going to be doing that. It's going to be probably a little bit different flavor this year because depending on exactly what day we ultimately do it next week, Zach and I are going to be traveling and stuff. So not sure 100% yet how involved Zach and I are going to be able to be on that particular show. But yes, that show will be streaming live Thursday night, Friday during the draft, and Saturday during the draft. And then separate from that, Zach and I will be there reporting, doing stuff, content. We'll be throwing up videos, live streams in and around the main live stream that's going to be happening while the draft is going on. But we're going to be like literally in the draft. So how much Zach and I will be able to be involved in those Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday day live streams while the draft's going on, I am dubious that we'll be able to be that involved. It'll be after and before.
We have a lot of cool content ideas coming for the draft, and we're excited to debut them. I'm looking forward to getting down there with you, Chad, and executing this.
Heck yeah. Travis throwing down some Sons of Anarchy. I'm a big fan. Yeah, dude. After Clay, I probably shouldn't spoil it, but when the way the Clay storyline resolved, I ended up kind of losing interest in it a little bit, kind of dragged out. They didn't have a smart way to kind of end it, but still, that's the first 4 or 5 seasons of that, phenomenal. The Last Kingdom, Zach, I've never heard of that. I don't even know what that is. Do you?
No.
But I'll check it out, dude. That gives me something to switch. Okay, let me see here. This is right, Albert. When we talk about the way MHH has grown, and we're not trying to sit here and flex and congratulate ourselves. It was brought up and we appreciate it. But Albert is right. One of the reasons we have grown the way we have is because of you not just showing up and for lack of a better term, patronizing our product, watching this live streams, participating, all that, throwing down supers and stars and all that. But when we throw out a call to action and say, hey, like the video if you're on YouTube, like it if you're on Facebook, share it out there. You guys do a phenomenal job of heeding those calls to action and taking care of business for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Albert.
Howie frickin' Day in the frickin' house, throwing down some frickin' stars. I love it, dude. Good to see you, Howie. Thank you, buddy. Much obliged. Ain't nothing but a G-Thang Hill saying with a frickin' baller super chat. Broncos players are excited about football like we are. And Hackett being the coach, he is building relationships. Can't wait to see how we play. We'll see the best of this team. MHH for life, hashtag let's ride. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going too far out over my skis anointing Nathaniel Hackett as the next great, coaching brainchild of the team for one reason. First of all, he's never been a head coach before. We got to see a little something there, but just kind of his goofiness a little bit. That kind of just, I don't know, the goofball in him. I wonder if it comes to a point where that authority figure, and I'm trying to remember which Bronco was talking about this. I think it was it Cortland Sutton? I'm trying to remember, but it was recently in a presser saying that, I'm not used to having a coach like that that's so cool and like personable and like one of the dudes. And I think he was asked, it might have not been a presser now I think about it. It might have been a separate interview. Who was it? Anyway, the concern being, well, that's all fine and dandy, but can a guy like that lead? Can you take him seriously? Is the authority there, right? And that player, dang it, I can't think of who it was, said, as long as when the chips are down, you get in the meeting rooms, on the field, that this dude's football acumen, this dude's football knowledge and expertise is on point. That's what, then all the personability and all that stuff accentuates and kind of, it's the glue that pulls it all together when that coach really is a man about his business. The players can see that. And then that's where the respect comes in. That's where the buy-in comes in. It's not just a dude trying to be bros with everybody and like, hey, I like you. Do you like me? Like, let's be friends. Time will tell exactly how that shakes out for Nathaniel Hackett, but I'm still very hopeful and optimistic and confident that it will.
That's how we became friends, Chad.
That's right. Exactly that way.
No, but everyone before Russell Wilson came along, who is the person everyone in Broncos country was most excited to see in 2022? It was Hackett. And so was I, and I still am. And just like I mentioned, the energy and enthusiasm and the hope he's brought back to the Broncos franchise. I mean, you're talking about a franchise, and I mean this figuratively and sensitively, that was ODing. And Nathaniel Hackett came along and just injected a shot of Narcan right in the Broncos' veins, and they are back to life, baby. Let's ride.
ODing on the football blues. You need some Narcan for them football blues. Tall, dark, and Mexican jumping in to say, hey, chaps, appreciate the pod as usual. Great work. Thank you, buddy. He says, I'll listen up after some work. See y'all in Vegas.
Nice.
Dope.
See you there.
We'll have more information, by the way, on how to meet up with us probably within the next 48 hours. By the time you see us Wednesday night, we'll be having some specifics for y'all. Ron Dubb, great member of our community, legendary figure, saying, hey, guys, how many combined sacks do you predict Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb will have? And then which wide receiver has the best chance to have an offensive player of the year kind of Cooper Kupp type season, Zach?
I'm rolling on my sleeve. I love you, Ron. You have seriously the best questions. They genuinely make my heart happy to answer. Combined sacks. I want to just plug myself for a second. I wrote a story about Bradley Chubb. He said the sky is the limit with him and himself, him and Randy Gregory, excuse me. And they look to have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb type impact together. Combined sacks being realistic. Let's assume, all right, we're going to assume they both play 17 games, which is priority number one for both players. I'm going to say they're going to eclipse 20 combined, 10 each at least. I mean, both scream off the edge and both will complement one another because NFL offensive lines cannot double team one or the other any longer. And the Broncos also have horses up front in Draymond, DJ Jones, Purcell to take up blocks, Ajim to allow Gregory and Chubb to run wild. So I'm going to say, to be specific, I'm going to say 22 combined sacks for Gregory and Bradley Chubb, but 6 forced fumbles to add on to that.
We have to qualify answering this question with assuming they're healthy, right? Because that's a big assumption. Right now, Chubb's healthy. Gregory's banged up, recovering from an offseason procedure. If they're both on the field, I think the floor is 20 sacks combined. And then as far as the wide receivers, I'm still, guys, look, we get asked this question every once in a while about which receiver is going to have the most tutties, who's going to have the most yards or receptions. Judy might end up with more receptions, but I'm telling you right now, Cortland Sutton is going to explode. Thomas Hall had an article today at milehighhuddle.com. Go read it. 3 Bronco offensive veterans poised to become superstars in 2022. Sutton, one of those guys, and I concur with that. I think Cortland Sutton, out of the gates, you could see that Russell Wilson gravitated immediately to Cortland Sutton, and I think you're going to see it come out in the wash on the field for what it's worth. Cortland Sutton is going to have some huge production with Russ.
Here's the problem, though. Unlike in LA, the Broncos have too many weapons for one receiver to have an offensive player of the year type year like Cooper Kupp. Beyond Kupp in Los Angeles, there was Robert Woods And there was a couple other, lesser players, but no one on Cup's level. The Broncos have not only Sutton, but Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, even KJ Hamler, Albert O, and they have a pretty damn good running back in Javonte Williams. I agree that Cortland will lead the team. He will be a 1,000-yard guy, maybe a Pro Bowl guy, but because of so many mouths to feed, it's going to be hard for anyone to have that type of season like Cooper Kupp.
Dude, Josh, anytime I see SOA abbreviated like that, I think of this very same band, dude. Washington, D.C. hardcore. Henry Rollins of Black Flag was in SOA, yes, and it was dope. Also, he was conveniently the front man for SOA, his first band. The Last Kingdom is great as well. That's right. So he was in Sons of Anarchy. Henry Rollins had a role in it because, he does, you know who Henry Rollins is, don't you, Zach? You know who we're talking about? All right. Rollins band, because I'm a liar. That guy, legendary frontman for Black Flag. Before that, hardcore band. Before that, the band he was singing in when Black Flag found him was a Washington, D.C. band called a hardcore band called SOA. So he was in SOA, and then he acted in a role in SOA later on. Like, see, this is what I'm talking about. The law of attraction, The Secret. And then The Last Kingdom, he says, is great as well. Another Viking English show similar to that of the Viking. Okay, all right. I'll remember that. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Josh. Yeah, I wanted to get to this too. I want to end the show on a football question. John Chance wants to know if Chubb has a good year, maybe 15 sacks, do you pay him next year? I say ship him off when the value is high. The problem is he's not going to be under contract after the season, so you can't trade him for anything. You'd have to resign him,
or tag and
trade. Yeah, but he's going to be a free agent, so it's either you pay up or let him walk and get a comp pick if he signs with another team.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, if Chubb if he meets his goal of being available for all 17, and he produces 15 sacks,
I'm paying him.
He's your number 5 overall pick, few years removed. I am paying him. I'm taking the chance just because you invested in him, and it's giving you some returns. I'm paying him.
He also won't turn 26, guys, until June. I mean, he's not plus 30. He's still very young in his career. And if he overcomes his injuries, he can be a damn fine pass rusher. They are so hard to find. I don't think many fans realize that. It's one of the toughest positions in the NFL to find. So if he breaks out this year under Evero and stays healthy, I'm paying Bradley. I really am.
Guys, we talk about this every once in a while, but ownership bank accounts don't affect the size of a team's salary cap. That's determined collectively by the NFL. And every team in this league, anyway, gets to enjoy the same salary cap and all that. But what it can help Chance DeGama is cash on hand. If it's a billionaire with resources like a Rob Walton does, it's nice to have high volumes of cash on hand for negotiation purposes, like signing bonuses, things like that. When you see a contract that says, like Denzel Ward, I don't know the details, but spitballing here, it's a 5-year deal worth $100 million. We know that. And, $55 million guaranteed with a $35 million signing bonus. Well, guess what? That signing bonus is due when they sign. So if you don't have as a company, you want to talk about fiduciary responsibilities. If you don't have that cash on hand to supply the signing bonus, and some teams, they have to really move money around, to make sure they have that in place because their owners aren't as resourceful. And even though the NFL shares revenue, that's the reason why the salary cap, its parity is so good.
Except
in the
for
NFL.
Washington, they don't share anything.
Right. But the reason for that is, some of these owners, though, they don't have the same financial resources. And so even though salary cap they're on equal footing, a guy like Jerry Jones can come in if he wants to and sweeten the pot by saying, I'm competing with Shad Khan of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's the same deal, only he's offering $30 million at signing. Cool. I'm going to offer $35 million at signing. I'm not going to change the overall value of the contract. It's still 5 years, $100 million, but I'm going to offer him $5 million more when he signs. That could be a feather in the cap for some teams.
It's also good if, let's say the stadium has a fire and some seats are destroyed. You have an owner who has very deep pockets where it won't become an issue if you need stadium renovation, stadium upgrades. You have that. You have a blank check to write, and that's a pretty good a position to be in for anyone, especially an NFL team.
Well said. And you know what? Talk about This was something that Joe Ellis brought up when he was talking about the extent of the damage from the fire. Supply chain issues. We know what's wrong. We know what it's going to take to fix it. We know what materials we're going to need to fix it. But God only knows the availability in terms of the supply chain since the pandemic being so topsy-turvy. Well, guess what? Guess who's got the supply chain locked down, dude? Walmart. They know how to source the product. You know what I'm saying? Now, maybe that's not going to serve them well, when you're talking about certain kinds of forged steel and all that stuff. But still, you never know. What's up, Andrew? Good to see you, bro.
A rollback on stadium seating pricing. Can't wait for that to come to Denver. Appreciate you, Andrew. I think that's going to do it, though, Chad. I'm just
we'll bounce. We'll bounce. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Thank you all for tuning in with us tonight. We are off tomorrow, back on Wednesday, same time, same place, 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern. Until that time, follow us on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter, the mothership account at Mile High Huddle. You can follow Chad on Twitter at Chad and Jensen. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL. Follow Scott on Twitter at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want a hoodie like I'm wearing, a hat like Chad's wearing, and I'm wearing, all of our merch right there at huddleuppod.com and facebook.com/MileHuddlePod. Like that page, follow that page. Guys, if you haven't, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win. Hey, could be a hat, could be a coffee cup, could be each and everything. Each and every month. But if you can't do those things, please do these 3 things. It takes a few seconds. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHA channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
That's right. And guys, when we talk about the merch store, there's so much cool stuff. And we actually have something cooking right now to really spice this thing up for you guys. But all kinds of swag, dude. I mean, this is just the front page, probably the most commonly purchased things right there. I don't know exactly how that gets ordered, but huddleuppod.com, guys, go check it out. Shout out to these great supporters on Facebook tonight, throwing down Randy up in Alaska, Gary, Howie frickin' Day, Phil McFrickin' Laughlin, Andrew Lampy, Travis Weber, Andrew Baker, Rodney Garcia, John Chance with the prestigious mustache, Lawrence Rivera, and then our great Super Chat superstars tonight, starting with Sam Bam, Plum Bob, Chaos Josh, the Punk Rocka, the Duchess, the Boogmeister, Cottonmouth 78, Andre Williams, a newer name throwing down. Love seeing that. Ain't Nothing But a G-Thang Hill, Ron Dub, legend, and once again, bringing up the rear at the very end with a different account, Josh the Oi Boy, trying to make it hard on us. You know what I'm saying? All right. Love you guys. Oh, and a Zachary Peterson at the 11th hour, Zach. We got a Hail Mary with the clock hitting double zeros saying, how much of an impact will Hackett have on Wilson getting the ball out faster and spreading the field? Thank you for the super. Zach, I'll let you answer this and then sign us off, bro.
I mean, I thought he had one of the quicker releases Russell Wilson did of all quarterbacks, but it depends on the scheme. It depends on the play call. I think they're going to have a lot of quick hitters, either over the middle to a tight end like Albert O, Jerry Jeudy, a receiver like that, getting the ball in the playmaker's hands. So they're going to do whatever's best for the offense, but don't forget about Javonte in this equation. A lot of Broncos fans, rightly so, are focusing on the passing game and the receivers and Albert and all these other factors, but the running game will benefit big time from that. So if they're more of a balanced offense, 50-50 than 70-30 pass first, let's say, don't say we didn't warn you.
Well said. I can add no more to that conversation. Claude Riley, what's up, bro?
Take care, guys. Thanks again for tuning in with us tonight. And as always, go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.